Hey, everybody, thank you. I'm saying thanks you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Unstoppable podcast where we are not perfect. You can hear that in my voice. But anyway, today's guest, the name of his product is called, what's it called again before? What's your product?
It's More Hair Naturally.
More Hair Naturally. And I thought that it would be great to have Mahryah Shain on to talk about more hair naturally because I'm bald, and you can either see that or if you're just listening, I'm just telling you. But we're going to talk about his backstory. We're going to talk about who he is and what he does, and you know, we're just going to get into it. So, welcome to the Unstoppable Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on,
man.
Ralph, I appreciate it.
I thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'll just because no one knows who I am. So let's just jump into it here. So basically, my company is called More Hair Naturally. I was born here in Los Angeles, and we're in Los Angeles, California. We make everything in California. We're all natural, no drugs. So basically, when I was raised, I've always had the philosophy in life that everything we need to survive is in nature. It's all there. We've survived millions and millions of years living synergistically with nature, you know, and that has not changed. So whenever we got sick or there was an illness, we always looked for what in nature can put our bodies back in control of itself. Yeah. Well, how can we keep our bodies keeping themselves strong? Because our bodies want to be strong. We are made to survive. We are made to thrive. We are made to do great. Our bodies are made to move forward. So if there's something that's not working in them, how can we put our body back in control of itself, essentially? Yeah. So it starts doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that's always been our life philosophy. Now, in terms of hair loss, every man in my family is bald. I'm thrilled to have what I have, because everyone's bald. So when my father started losing his hair in the 90s, there was nothing out there. There was just all the same drug products that are being used today, the ones that were made in the 70s, the minoxidils, finesterized, the ones that are still popular today.
Sure.
That's all there was. Mm-hmm. So my father went down that path. There's always been home remedies, like onions on your head or various things like that. But he went down that drug path and he got very sick. He started, his body got all these pains. He was lethargic. He actually started developing breasts because it started altering his hormone levels.
Wow.
And so we were like, no, you got to stop. And so now my mother is Italian, and she was talking to one of our family members in the Lake Como region of Italy.
Okay.
And was telling just catching up, and mentioned this. And the cousin was like, there's this little lab down the street that's doing some very interesting things in this field of natural hair loss. And so she's like, oh, well, send us some. So they sent us some, and it was getting results that weren't there before.
Okay.
And so my family became the North American distributors.
Okay.
So from that point, we're like, we should probably learn about hair loss, because now we're in the hair loss business.
Sure.
We should figure out what it is. Now, as we started studying it and learning it and seeing results and seeing how people were reacting, and we started realizing that this is a field that somehow science didn't go to sleep on it, yet somehow all the products that were out there hadn't been really innovated since the 70s.
Okay.
And so once we started understanding the basic mechanics of hair loss and how it happens, there is a genetic factor, but it's not a scary factor. There's a very specific genetic thing that happens that can be helped. And once we discovered that, we're like, well, what's helping this? Mm-hmm. And at that point, we started researching in the natural field. Then we started researching medical journals all over the world to figure out what's going on. And we started discovering these amazing studies were being done with stem cells, probiotics, amino acids, peptide complexes, all these great things. And so we contacted a lab here in California, and we're like, hey, there's these incredible innovations happening in the world, but none of them are in products.
Okay.
Can we take all of these at the same clinical strength that's getting results in laboratory studies? Can we put them in one product? And it took a couple of years, and then they were able to do it. And then from that point on, we moved everything to California. We started making all our products here locally, and every product was made with that intention of like, what's the specific goal that needs to get fixed? And then what's being done in the field of science, in the natural way.
Okay.
That's producing those results we want. And then
I have so many questions. Many questions.
Okay, let's do it. Lay them on me.
Because, all right, my listeners, and I have a lot of young listeners, sure. But I remember being 19 years old. I've been bald since I've been 20, and I remember being 19 with a receding hairline, and really having to come to terms with, I'll just cut it off. And I just happen to have a very nicely shaped head. And so I'm 55 now. So my children who have never seen me with hair, but I remember what emotionally, and I'm talking about my young men here, and even maybe my ladies too, because I know ladies have deal with hair loss. I know what it can do to our confidence, to our mind, and when you're young, you're just trying to find your stride. I wasn't as confident, as I am now. Thank God for Michael Jordan, who made it sexy, and Bo Jackson and Shaft and everybody, but if I didn't have those guys, I might not have confidence. So there are some young men and some young women now are saying, oh my goodness, there's natural ways for me to keep my hair. And I know that they're trying, because I know some of them, and they're trying just to hear this. And so customer base wise, are you finding that you're getting, I know you're getting all age ranges, but are you finding, because, hair plugs for men, I remember going through that and people talking about that and sticking. My father, I could talk about him, God rest his soul, he's transitioned. My father used to wear a piece, a toupee or a piece. Whatever. Remember my uncle's wearing it. And all along, these natural things have been out there. And I want to say this too. I always thought that hair loss, this is just a rumor mill. What do I know? You're the expert and you're going to tell me. Came from your mother's side, not your father's.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. So let's tackle it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So let's tackle the hair loss question, and then let's get into the confidence thing, because that's a big deal.
It is.
So, and that's the real issue.
Yes, sir.
So let's just put the mystery to hair loss to rest, and then we'll move on. So it in general, so there's tons of reasons people lose their hair. There's a lot. There's hormones. There's medication. There's underlying illness. There's diet. There's environmental factors, but the overall arcing reason is genetics. Now, genetics is not a dead end. People hear the word genetics and they're like, that's it, genetics, I'm doomed, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not true, because here it does typically, they say it's most predominant in the mother's father. They say that's where you can look most predominantly, but I'm not finding that to be 100% consistent in the people I talk to.
I don't find that consistent either. My mother's father died with a full head of hair.
Right. So I've heard that as like kind of the running like standard, but the more people I talk to, it's like some yes, some no. But here's how the genetic factor works. So on our hair follicles, we have these little potholes. It's just, there's a scientific name, but we're going to stick with potholes because it's just easy and a good visual. So there's these little potholes, and these are the inherited trait of hair loss. You inherit, they're like freckles or green eyes or brown eyes. It's something that you inherit. So now you inherit these little potholes on your follicle. So how many potholes you have, that's just a genetic factor. And it's not consistent. Someone can have a lot, sister or brother can have less. It's just kind of bounced all over.
Sure.
Now, when our body breaks down the male hormone testosterone, it creates a byproduct called DHT.
Okay.
Now, this is just when your body breaks it down, so it could use it and get the full benefit from it. It just makes this byproduct. Generally, it's just excreted. However, as it passes by the follicle, it gets stuck in these little potholes. Now, what happens is over time, as more and more gets stuck, it begins to cut the blood flow off to the follicle, and the follicle starts to get weaker and weaker, thinner and thinner, and then eventually just dies. Now, once it's dead, there's nothing that can be done about it.
Wow.
Now, if you lose hair, is determined between one, how much testosterone your body produces, and two, how many of these little potholes you have. So that's the generic equation. So like if you have a ton of potholes, but you produce very little testosterone, you probably will have hair loss, but not much, but much later in life. And this is the case with a lot of women. So they may have inherited many potholes from their genetic line, but they're not producing a lot of testosterone. But if you're like, but it's the other way too. Like if you have inherited very little potholes, you know, but you're producing tons of testosterone, you're going to lose hair much earlier than you would think because of all the testosterone is being produced and the DHT that's being produced as a result of that.
So that supports that supports the rumor when I was coming up, I was in bodybuilding, and that would support the rumor that, man, if these guys doing steroids, they lose their hair.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. That's exactly why they lose their hair, because we have a very large bodybuilder contingency here.
Sure.
And that's why, because it's, you know, the exercise is great. Testosterone is amazing for your body. Right. It's great for your body. So you definitely want that. You want that flowing through your body, men and women. It's very beneficial. But it's just that when it breaks it down, it creates that DHT. You know? So yeah, bodybuilders will sometimes, if they have a lot of these little potholes inherited, they will see excessive hair loss early on. So our goal, and once we learned that, once we discovered that, well, we didn't discover, but once we learned that, that was excuse me, that was the mechanics, then we set out to figure out, well, if that's what it is, how can we just get that DHT off the follicle and get the blood flowing back to the follicle? You know, because that seems to be the real issue, not your body, not your hormones, not how your body's functioning, because you don't mess with hormones, because that's, you know, every little bit, it's a chain reaction. It all works together. You don't mess with those. So what we worked on was like, okay, well, how do we get the DHT off the follicle, get the blood flowing back to it, and then start rebuilding it again so it can produce the strong, healthy hair? So that's what our products do. That's what we developed our products to do, is in an all natural approach with stem cells, probiotics, amino acids, peptide complexes. We're able to find a way to get that DHT to slide off the follicle, just to enter your bloodstream again and get excreted, and then get the blood flowing back to the follicle. And at the same time, we can start rebuilding that follicle with stem cells, probiotics, amino acids, and we can get that hair follicle start to producing hair again on its own.
Man, this is amazing. There is hope. There is hope. Listening, guys, ladies, if you're experiencing some hair loss, there's some hope in this podcast, and we're going to get to.
If you're shiny bald, though, we can't help. Shiny bald means that the follicles have died. So if someone's shiny bald, we can't help with that.
Mahryah, I feel as though you see my head shining on this podcast.
I
do. I feel as though you see the light bouncing off my smooth dome, and you're telling me, Ralph, listen, you tell me in a nice way, it's this not for you, bro.
Yeah, it's not. You know, buy yourself a nice sweater or something, but you know, a nice jacket, or take your wife to dinner, something nice. But don't send your money my way, because we can't help you.
But there's millions of people you can help, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about today.
Exactly.
And so, all right, so it's natural. It's not. They're not taking any crazy hormones. They're not getting any steroid rubs.
Nope.
They're not, because as like you said, women get older, and 40s and 50s, and they're maintaining their beauty, and they have all kinds of wigs and things they can sew in now.
Sure.
Talk about some of the products that our ladies can use, or let's talk about that. What would a woman do? Because I know this messes with their head, messes with their mind. I can get away with being shiny bald.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's not fair, but society puts a lot of pressure on women.
They do.
More pressure on women than men to maintain their hair. Right. It's just how our society is set up, and it's a drag. Women tend to get better results with us because they act faster.
Okay.
When their hair starts excessively shedding, they start noticing thinning. They take action quicker because it's more of a societal thing, you know? And so because they take action quicker, they get faster, better results, where a man will wait 20 years, they'll have dead follicles mixed in, they'll start and then, they're going to need to use the product for 6 months to a year, to really rebuild and get back, to where they were. But a woman, because she acts faster, will see faster results.
And I know results vary, but they will see more. Normally, ladies, you will see faster results than men will.
Just because they act faster. They act faster. Man's like, well, put it off. And then they put it off. And then inevitably, when you start thinning your follicles, there are dead follicles in there, which is why it never will come back 100% because you've got dead follicles mixed in.
Right.
So it will thicken up and it will look great, but it's never going to be 100% because they wait too long. Where a woman will act much faster because it's really an emotional issue which causes them to act. Yeah. Which it is for men too. Right. It is for men too.
It is. It was very emotional when I was 19.
Yeah. But
and we went to I played football in college, and it's back when they could haze. One of the hazing things, it was nothing crazy, just to shave your head.
Right.
And I said, well, this is never coming back. And
man.
I just kept shaving it, and I just kept shaving it. Here we are today. So so use natural products. Can you talk about some of the products that you use? Is it oral? Is it injections? Are you creams? What are we doing here?
No, it's all topical. So it's all water-based topical solutions because we have shampoos, conditioners, we have a scalp exfoliator, but that's not if somebody's really thinning, they need our two main products, the Mahryah Naturally 9, the Hair and Scalp Synergy. They're spray bottles. So you just hold the nozzle as close to the scalp as possible. I usually have some on my desk, but I don't right now. Just hold the nozzle as close to the scalp as possible, spray just enough to saturate those thinning areas, massage it into the scalp, and let it dry. Wow. And then go about your day or go about your evening. Because the idea is to get it to absorb into the scalp. It's not greasy, it's not oily, it's not scented. So we did that intentionally so it doesn't make your hair look bad. Because again, it's about looking good. So we don't want to give you something that's going to make you feel greasy or oily or not make you feel great about your appearance.
Yeah, I think this is phenomenal, man. What you guys are doing. And so how do they begin the process? How do they begin this relationship with Grow My Hair Naturally?
More hair naturally.
Yeah. So, how can they say it again?
So, more hair naturally. Well,
more hair. I'm just so excited about it.
Totally, man. No,
more hair naturally.
So they go to our website, morehairnaturally.com. Okay. And they can just purchase there, or on the top and bottom of every page, I have phone numbers. And we always suggest people call in. The reason is I have a whole team here of hair growth experts. These are people trained in hair, trained in the mechanics, trained in everything. And because we just want to talk to you about your hair.
And I wanted to ask you about that. So you have
what's going on.
You have consultants, and I love that.
Yes.
So because it's just not like an Amazon click and ship.
No.
I have a consultant now that is a hair expert that's probably have heard my story, and they can walk me through this process. I love it.
But it's not just walking someone through the process. It's about helping them understand what's happening.
Okay.
And taking away the mystery of their situation.
Wow.
Answering any questions they might have about what is going on with their hair, and then offering up actionable steps that they can take, because it's about putting you back in control of your hair loss. It's about putting you back in control of areas of your life that you feel might be out of control. So it's really about, because we are about self-confidence. Right. We are about self-esteem.
Sure.
Because the physical matters. It matters. I mean, I know we're talking hair, we're talking physical, we're talking quote unquote vanity.
It matters.
Vanity shouldn't be a bad word. You know, the reason vanity is a bad word is because all those 80s movies, all like the vain people are just jerks. You know, it's like, don't be a jerk, but it's okay to care, because the physical is going to affect your mental. It just is.
You would think that you would have hairdressers, beauty salons, barbershops. Mm-hmm. Have they tapped into this wonderful resource of More Hair Naturally?
Some. We have doctors' offices that have it as well.
Okay.
But the majority of people just go to our website, order. If they don't want to talk, they just order. If they're interested in talking, a lot of people don't like to talk these days on the phone, but if they do, we always encourage calling, because here's the one of the wonderful things that I've discovered about our product, and it's kind of a thing about life too. Okay, so you look at yourself in the mirror and you have a little tension on your body,
Yeah.
you know, and so when you go out into the world, you're not 100%. You're like 70% because you have that little attention. You have a little bit of concern. You have a little bit of like, so you're introverted a little bit.
Yeah.
And the best way to succeed in the world is to be extroverted. Like when somebody who's truly extroverted walks into the room and they have their full attention on you and that person, everyone notices. Everyone turns and is like, who just walked into the room? You know? So our goal is to have you get your attention off your body and put your attention back into the world so that you can focus on your friends, on your church, on your groups, on your loved ones, on your communities, and not be thinking about like, oh, I hope that they don't see me from this angle. You know, I hope they don't catch me from this angle. But here's the great thing that I've discovered, and I've proved it to myself as well in terms of life actions. You don't have to hit the goal to have the confidence. You just have to take those steps moving you toward the goal, you know? And the best way, the most obvious way is the gym. You know, you go to the gym, you're changing, you're checking out your stomach, little flab, whatever. You know, you go work out hard for an hour, you come back, you look at yourself, you look the same, but instead of being like a little flab, you're like, I look amazing. I look great. You know, you're a little sore. You're like, I might even keep my shirt off and walk out of the gym. I look so good, you know, because you now have that confidence. You look the same, but because you're taking those actions, you have the confidence of the goal achieved already.
Yeah.
You know, and you keep the consistency is a major factor. You keep the consistency in with your hair or your body, you're eventually going to get there for real. You know, but you don't have to wait to get there for real to have the confidence of that end product, you know? So a lot of times we've noticed that it's just people taking the actions to get them to that goal that give them the confidence to know to get out into the world and just be better in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that's why one of the reasons why we push consistency so much in everything.
Right.
You
of
know,
course.
because that consistency is going to give you, not only is it going to give you the results, you know, but more importantly, it's going to give you the confidence.
That consistency builds that compound effect just a little bit over a long period of time, changes everything. Changes everything. You know, so I love it that they'll call and there's a journey that you all begin together. And like how have your results been? I mean, I know you're very successful. Are there testimonials that I know there's some great testimonials on the website, and you being in Los Angeles, no, you probably got some A and B listers on there.
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very
For
good.
sure. We do. I mean, you know, we have many clients. So we do have a lot of musicians, a lot of actors, a lot of professionals, a lot of speakers, you know.
And so let me clarify Unstoppable podcast. When I say A and B listers, you guys are A and B listers, but I was just talking about Hollywood, Los Angeles. I was talking about the arts.
Yeah. I know. I got what you're saying. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Because my audience is fantastic. I just want to say, I love
A and B, like the big movie stars.
Movie stars, right?
That guy who you see, you're like, I know him from somewhere.
Right.
I know him from that guy. Yeah. So there's like, and that's the A is like the Tom Cruise, and the B is that guy.
Right.
You're like, oh, I recognize him. I've seen him in every TV show I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But you don't know his name.
I love what you said though about introvert, extrovert. And I often call it a command presence. I was a police officer for 20 years and, you know, and leader in my field. And there were certain guys that I started off very young. And I noticed there were certain men and women that walked in the room, and the way they walked in, man, it was like everybody noticed, not like fawned over them, but they knew a presence had come into the room. And so we called that command presence. And I was really able to establish that. But you're right. Confidence allows you to have that command presence. You don't have to slink into any atmosphere. You can walk in, and instead of being a thermometer, you can be the thermostat. You can actually change the energy in the room because your presence is in there. And so, having that confidence in your looks and how you feel is a big part of that. A big part of that, man. And I really love what you're offering. I really love what you're doing. Because at 23, at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, it's confusing. Like, I guess I'll just shave it off and be like my dad, or a lot of our young ladies are just buying wigs. I don't know how healthy that is for a head, right. I can't imagine, wearing all those chemicals and keeping the air from your follicles being healthy. I don't know, but who am I? I'm bald. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
And so how can my listeners get to you, reach you, have a conversation with you? Tell us your Instagram. Do you have Instagram and Twitter? Where are you social media so they can follow you?
Yeah, it's just More Hair Naturally at all the sites. It's More Hair Naturally.
More Hair Naturally everywhere.
But the best way is just go to morehairnaturally.com. You can see all the information. If you feel comfortable talking about what's going on, call us. We'd love to talk to you. We even follow up with people if they want. Some people don't like it, and that we respect that. Yeah. But some people do. Like we're like, hey, can we check in a month? Can we check in 2 months to make sure it's going okay? To make sure you're seeing the results. To make sure you're hitting the milestones. Is that okay?
Sure.
And then we will call and we'll check and be like, how's it going? How you doing? What are you seeing?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, let me ask you a question before we sign off. I try to ask all of my listeners, all of my guests this, and my listeners they know what's coming. If you could have a billboard anywhere, where would it be and what would it say? If you could have a billboard of a signature saying of yours, where would it be and what would it say?
Well, it would probably be, I'm thinking of the busiest street in Los Angeles, probably like the Sunset Strip there.
Okay.
Because that's always jam-packed with lots of huge billboards.
Okay.
It'd probably be something along the lines of is the person you just encountered better off because they spoke to you today?
Wow. That's a great question. Is the person you just encountered better off because they spoke to you or spoke with you today?
Yeah.
Man, that's a message all about service, man.
Yeah.
It's a message all about service. Someone said to me in my church the other day, they said, Pastor, I realized that God woke me up this morning, not for me, but for somebody else.
That's beautiful. That's a really beautiful thing to say.
And I like that. I think we should be I tell you what, my life has been impacted by this interview right now. I mean, your energy and your focus and what you're doing and you and your company, creating a service like this and taking the time to, you said from the outset, didn't start, but taking the time to investigate. Man, I can't imagine the thousands that you're affecting, man. And please keep up the good work. And thank you for being out there. Thank you for being unstoppable.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate it. It was so nice meeting you. It was so
likewise,
cool having this talk and this. It was short, but it definitely made my day a lot better. So I really appreciate it.
Guys, morehairnaturally.com. Share it. Get on it. Follow him. Follow that company on every platform. Make the phone call. I'm sure they have packages that fit you. You don't have to be discouraged. You don't have to hide it anymore. There are men like my new friend Mahryah out here that are here for you and they're doing wonderful things. Right? Thanks for being on. Guys, thank you for listening to the Unstoppable Podcast. And remember, just continue to do the work and let's be unstoppable together. God bless you guys.